Welcome to the second tutorial on creating a model with a finite fault. We'll start straight away by clicking on numerical model and, as usual, creating a default simple square reservoir model. So I showed a method earlier in part 1 whereby I split this square reservoir into 6 regions to create the finite fault. In this method I will simply split the reservoir into 2 regions, thus, and now I choose select, I double click on the internal line I've created. So we have a feature in the model building interface whereby I can add control points or internal nodes on an internal line, and I do it thus. I move the slider into a position, and here I can see the percentage of the overall length or the distance from the first point. You can see that as I move that slider over here, the symbol is moving on the line to denote where it's being created. So for argument's sake, I'll move it to here and I'll say add control point, and I'll move it again. At that stage the line is being split in 2 effectively, and I'll move it to here and I'll say add control point. And now essentially the line 3, 6 here on the diagram has been split into 3 parts. If I now double click on that central part, you can see here that I've got a solid black line, which denotes that it has now been turned into a fault of finite length. And I can again, as in example 1, move this closer by choosing move and clicking on the line to move it. I can drag it. If I press shift, it will ensure it drags it purely horizontally. Release, so I've moved the finite fault closer to the wellbore. I'll check my model as normal. I see that I haven't defined any wellbore information, as in the perforation lengths, so I will make it partially completed 50 feet. I click on check model check and I click on OK. Simulation, numerical simulation, PanMesh new run, and again I now have a model with a fault of finite length, which, as before, will run the simulation. We're getting damage because this model has damage defined. We get partial completion and we get this bump here, which, as I said, is due to the finite fault. I can see it again as in example 1 by going back to here, just touching into the finite fault, and if I turn on the radius of investigation, we see that. So that is the second or alternative method to create a fault of finite length. Thank you again for your attention.